You're now in busy central Christchurch, and a lot has changed since the February earthquakes. Steve, what are some of those changes?
Yeah, there's been a lot of change. You know, the earthquakes did a lot of damage to both older buildings and new buildings. Over 1,000 buildings have had to be demolished in central Christchurch because of the internal damage and structural damage to those buildings. And if we look at this aerial photograph, you can see all of the empty spaces, and you can see buildings that are under demolition as we speak. There's been like a clearing of the central city. There's been a lot of buildings go down, but it's also quite exciting because it means that we can do new things as well.
And it certainly makes navigating around the city a little bit more difficult. All those landmark buildings we used to know to turn a corner just aren't there anymore. So we've got a whole lot of change. How is it actually recorded?
Well, when people want to build a new building, we need to know where it is. So we need to know where the land parcels are, so that's part of the cadastre base or the land base on sections and who owns the sections. And then the building owners, when they propose to build a building, they have to submit the plans to the council. So they get checked for structural integrity, make sure it's up to the new code that's been strengthened after the earthquakes, and we record where those buildings are and how many there are, because that's important to know how much office space there's going to be for the workers when they come back to Christchurch City.
Yeah, and you can take a look at the LEARN's background pages to find out a little bit more about cadastral maps and property boundaries and those sorts of things. So the Central City Plan, those huge, beautiful blueprints that are on our website,
Yep.
What's happening with that? How's it progressing?
Well, the plan is progressing very well. SERA, the Earthquake Recovery Authority, is currently negotiating with a lot of owners in the central city, because the plan is to build a park frame around the city, and that's going to be like a continuous garden link around the central city. There's a lot of negotiation going on around those projects, and especially what they call the anchor projects. So these projects are the new convention centre, the new sports centre, the new swimming pool. There's a whole lot of really exciting projects that are planned to happen.
You might be wondering how they actually know that these new buildings are safe from earthquakes.
A lot of work has gone into understanding how the other buildings were damaged in the previous quake. And out of those understanding, new building codes and new requirements are being made part of any new building consent. And the reason for this is to make sure that the buildings are doubly safe, to make sure that we know that they will behave in another earthquake, if we have one, in a way that will keep the people safe inside the building.
So legally, how do they know that a building's safe? What kind of paperwork is there?
What happens is architects and the builders will get plans drawn, and those plans have to be in accordance with the New Zealand Building Code. Those plans are then submitted to the local council, in this case the Christchurch City Council, and they have a team of building inspectors who look over the plans, they check the calculations, they check the designs, and they make sure they're compliant with the code. And they also record them where they're located, because that's important that we know where the buildings are, so that we can make sure the services are available and the roads are available and reconstructed and rebuilt, so that when a brand new building's gone up, we rebuild and resurface the road so that everything is ready at the same time.
And I can see you've got a graph here. Can you explain that?
Sure, this graph is really quite an exciting picture, because what it shows us is the amount of recovery activity that's going on. This first month of September is September 2010, when the first earthquake happened. And if we have a look, we only had 5 consents granted in that month for new recovery activities. But as that's gone on through September last year, you can see that the amount of consents has increased, peaking at up to 300, but averaging round about 200 consents a month. So this is showing us that there's a lot of activity, a lot of people have confidence to build new houses, to build newer office blocks, and all of those types of things. And so we can see how much confidence there is to rebuild in Christchurch, and we can see some of that construction behind us today.